Bezat Hashem, Chevra, let's get started. This week's Parshat is Parshat Tisa. Tisa. If everyone can open up the Chumashim to page 492. 492, Tisa. We're going to discuss tonight one of the most difficult parshiyot in the entire Torah. Literally, not just saddest, but also just at face value, one of the hardest parshiyot to understand, kipshuto, simple pshat, just simple pshat and storyline. This whole story of the Egel HaZahav, the golden calf, which is considered a black mark on Jewish history. It's considered B'chiyah L'Dorot. It's considered an Avirah that we suffer dividends of till today. Every punishment that we receive has a shemet, an ounce of the punishment from Egel HaZahav, which shows you how severe this Avirah was. But really, as we go through this, we have to try to start to understand exactly how is it possible that the Jewish people could do such a serious Avirah. In order to understand that, we have to get some sort of an idea as to what is the Avirah. What was the Avirah exactly? Now what I'd like to do is to read through the Psukim tonight. Most of the night I want to read through the Psukim. Let's go through the Psukim. Let's see the order of events. What? What? Hard to hear. Let's just go through the Psukim. Try to see if we can understand the simple storyline as to what happened. Because at face value, this is a very difficult story. Okay? Before we even start the Psukim, let's remember in history where we're holding. Where are we holding in history? Jewish people left Mitzrayim on which day?
Which day?
Which day? Pesach, which is which day of the Jewish year?
15th of Nisan.
You want to go to the other room? Should we go to the other room? Or you want to go there? I don't mind. I don't care. Okay, Beseda? I don't mind going there if you want. Not that. You want? It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. Do what you want to do. It's fine.
14th of Nisan.
The Jews leave Mitzrayim the 15th of Nisan, which is the day of Pesach. How many days later is Kabbalat Torah?
How many days? 49 days.
49 days. How do you know 49 days?
Well, we learn Masechet Rosh Hashanah.
Pesach to Shavuot, which is 6th or 7th of Sivan. 49 days later, they receive the Torah.
Kinyan HaMasechta for those who want to start.
In these 49 days, the Jewish people went from the level of slaves to the highest level possible.
Adam HaRishon.
They went to a level, like Matan just said, Adam HaRishon Kodem Le'achet. The Forshim tell us. Paska Zu Amatam. The original chet, which was the sin of Adam HaRishon, was removed. Death was removed from this world. We're talking about the highest of levels.
Geula.
Literally Geula, the highest of levels. They're wearing crowns, which is symbolic of this idea. And then, what happens?
Amalek.
Then what happens? 40 days, Moshe is supposed to be on Har Sinai and come down. As we'll see, he comes a little bit late, and already they're doing Egel HaZahav.
You gotta understand why they do that.
Does everybody understand how difficult that is? They literally go, in 49 days, to go to the highest level of spirituality. Moshe comes, we'll see, one day late, and already within one day, they're doing Egel HaZahav. It's such a difficult story.
There is a build-up with Micha and everything.
No, we have to understand why they did it. They're not
Okay.
the whole high value level people. And if they did it, no, it's not that a problem.
Micha.
Actually, Matan's right. Rashi learns Erev Rav. We'll see in a minute.
Well?
We'll see in a minute. We'll see in a minute. They were the instigators. They were the ones who caused. We'll see. We'll see. But what was the boshesh? Let's just speak this out for a second before we see it inside. We're going to see the reason that they even began dealing with this Egel HaZahav is because Moshe was late. And what does it mean Moshe was late? What happened?
And then it counted right.
There was a miscommunication. Excellent. What was the miscommunication?
He said 40 days, they said 49.
So he went up, right. He went up on the mountain on the 7th of Sivan and he said he's going to come down in 40 days. Now 40 days, they thought it included the day that he went up. Including the day that he went up should have ended on the 16th of what? Tammuz. But really, he said 40 days, night.
Sivan Tammuz.
Sivan Tammuz.
After Sivan?
Sivan Tammuz. He went up on the 7th of Sivan, let's say.
They were not supposed to receive the Torah in Kabbalah?
But then he went up the day after, let's say. And then, if you count 40 days, it would go till the 16th of Tammuz. Okay? The problem was, what Moshe Rabbeinu meant was 40 days that were night and day units. The day he went up was already the day, so that day can't be counted. So he meant that he's going to come down Yud Zayin b'Tammuz. And he said, I'm going to come down, one second, and he said, I'm going to come down the first 6 hours of the day, in the morning. So they waited till the 16th of Tammuz. He didn't come. And then already they decide, we're making Yel HaZahav. They didn't even wait one day. You understand? Already they're making Yel HaZahav because they couldn't be patient enough to wait one day. Okay. So the Gemara adds a little bit more. I'll tell you the Gemara in Shabbat, I believe, adds a little bit more. It says the Satan got involved. And what did the Satan do? It made darkness in the world and showed them an image of Moshe Rabbeinu floating in a casket, floating in a box as if he died, so that they believed that he had passed away.
Okay, so that
already we think it's acceptable? So already the decision to make Egel HaZahav now is acceptable?
No, because...
Still very difficult.
they didn't make Egel HaZahav. They throw the gold in there, and it become Egel HaZahav. They didn't sit down and fix an Egel HaZahav.
Okay, I hear what you're saying.
Doesn't matter, the intention was to make God.
You understand how far they went and how far they dropped. It's unbelievable.
That's why, like you said, Satan,
okay, so I'm telling you what
like
Chazal tell us. But still, this is very difficult in storyline. So let's go through the psukim now. I just told you the backstory. Now let's see this inside. Perek Lamed Bet Pasuk Aleph. Vayara Am ki boshesh Moshe l'redet min hahar. Moshe, the nation saw ki boshesh Moshe l'redet min hahar. The nation saw that Moshe delayed. Boshesh means he delayed. L'redet min hahar, to descend from the mountain. Vayikahel ha'am al Aharon, and the nation gathered against Aharon, Moshe's brother. Vayomer elav, and they said to him, Kul maseh lanu Elohim, get up and make for us. Literally, it means a God. Asher yelchu lefanenu, who will go in front of us. Ki zeh Moshe ha'ish, because this man Moshe, Asher ha'elanu me'eretz Mitzrayim, who brought us out of Egypt, lo yadanu me'ayalo. We don't know what happened to him. Okay? We don't know what happened to Moshe, so make for us Elohim. Make for us a God. Moshe took us out of Mitzrayim. We don't know what happened to him. Make for us Elohim. Make for us a God. Now there is a machloket in the Rishonim here. I'll just tell you. Some of the Rishonim learn, a minority, that they intended for this to be like Avodah Zarah, like to worship this thing itself. Okay? Actual worship, which would be Avodah Zarah. Other Mefarshim learn that they were looking at Moshe as the intermediary, as the middleman between them and Hashem. Since he's not there, we need another middleman. Okay? Now that doesn't sound so bad, right? Doesn't sound so bad. But still we know
That's why Aaron did it?
I'll have to see. But still, we know that this was an extremely severe Aveira. Because we know, like I said, we're punished throughout all generations. Initially Hashem wanted to wipe us all out. So however you learn the Pshat, they came to Aaron and they said, Moshe is not here, make for us Elohim. This is Elohim, okay? Fine. Now Aaron does not give them Musar. It's unbelievable. You'd think the natural reaction would be, no, not interested.
I think he was afraid they're going to kill him.
Oh. It's not clear though. Let's see. Vayomer Aaron, and Aaron turned to the people and he said, Parkunis mea zahav asher ba'oznei neshechem b'nechem uvnotechem. Take the golden jewelry from your sons, your daughters, etc. Va'aviu elai, and bring it to me. Now Aaron had a cheshbon. He thought to himself, I know Moshe is coming back. I just need to delay the people a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, go gather the gold for this egel. By the time they gather it all together, it will take time. And then what's going to happen? Moshe will be back and save the day. It's a great plan. Fine.
Okay.
The problem was, his intention was, they're going to go to the women, etc. And the women say, no, I want to keep my jewelry. So there'll be a fight, and they're not going to be able to get it so quickly. But the men didn't wait. We're going to see what happened was, the men took off their own jewelry. They brought it to Aaron. It was quick. Quick, they brought all the gold. Vayikach mi'adam, and he took it from their hand. Vayatzar oto bacheret, He bound it up in a cloth. He put it in some sort of a material. And he made it into a molten calf, some sort of an image. Vayomru, and they said, they is the people, this is your God Israel, who took you out of Egypt. This is such a strange phenomenon, such a strange thing. Suddenly you make a golden calf and this is the God that took you out of Egypt. Means they're recognizing that they were taken out of Egypt by Hashem, and now they're saying this is it's such a stark contrast. It's such a drastic drop.
Bizayon.
Such a bizayon. It's unbelievable.
I think the Avodah Zarah was very, very tempting at the time. It was more tempting than woman.
Tempting, right?
Avodah Zarah people were dying to do.
Right, such a ta'ava, strong ta'ava. Very strong ta'ava.
So that's the push-up. It's not, because the way it sounds,
But it's not like justifying it, Yosef.
What's that?
Crazy.
Right.
The way it sounds, it's like only crazy people would do that. But it's not, because the ta'ava.
I hear you. I agree.
It's unbelievable.
I agree. But Yosef's saying there's a lot of truth to it, and this is actually something you look throughout Nevi'im, you find the same concept. The Jews, when they crossed over into Israel, in days of Yoshua, many of the Nevi'im, the books that follow when the Jews are living in Israel, we find they constantly struggled with Avodah Zarah. And we look at it and we say to ourselves, why are they doing Avodah Zarah? What's wrong with these people? It's such a craziness. The answer is, what Yosef is saying is true, is that the ta'ava for Avodah Zarah is not something we could relate to today. For the ta'ava like we have maybe for other things is what they had for Avodah Zarah is a phenomenon that doesn't exist today. Fine. Vayar Aharon, and Aharon saw, Vayiven Mizbeach lefanav. He built a Mizbeach, an altar, in front of this Egel. And Vayikra Aharon Vayomar, Aharon called out and he said, Chag LaHashem Machar. LaHashem, what's LaHashem? Hashem. A holiday for Hashem tomorrow. Vayashkimu imacharat, so the people got up the next day. Vaya'alu olot, they brought korban olot. Vayagishu shlamim, they brought korban shlamim. Vayeshev ha'am le'echol v'shato, they sat to eat and drink. Vayakumu litzachek, and they got up litzachek. What does litzachek literally mean? To laugh, to enjoy. Comes along Rashi. Actually, it implies gilui arayot, shfichut damim. It implies all of the major avirot that they were engaging in then. Immoral. Gilui arayot means totally immoral behavior, sexual perversions. Shfichut damim is murder, and avodah zarah is as evidenced in this story. So not only does Aaron assist seemingly in making this egel, but he also builds a mizbeach to sacrifice the next day on this mizbeach.
He was thinking Moshe will come already.
Oh, he was hoping Moshe would come already. So here, I think Yosef pointed this out. There is a Gemara in Masechet Sanhedrin that says, it says in the pasuk here, Vayar Aharon, Vayiven Mizbeach. He saw and he built a mizbeach. What do you mean he saw? What did he see? So the Gemara explains like this.
So what are they doing?
Yeah, but why did he build a mizbeach? What was he doing that for?
So when you say Amona, it's also Rachamim.
It sounds like it.
Mizbeach for the disgrace?
It's unclear. Vayar Aaron vayiven mizbeach lefanav, in front of it, in front of in front of it, yeah.
Rashi
For
said,
him, for him.
מותר שיתעלה בי הסירחון ולא בהם?
What's that?
מותר
That's the story. So the Gemara in Masechet Sanhedrin explains, Aharon saw that he has to engage in this activity. What did he see that made him engage in this behavior, that get involved? He felt he needed to listen to what they were asking him to do. Why? So we know that these people wanted to make Egel get involved in this Avodah Zarah. And first, there was a fellow whose name was Chur. And Chur was protesting. Who was Chur? Does anybody know? Chur was the son of Miriam and Kalev. Kalev was Moshe's brother-in-law. Miriam was his sister. So Kalev and Miriam had a son named Chur. And Chur saw what was going on, and he was kanai. He was against this. He was making a macha, and they killed him. The people killed him. They had a mob. They killed him. Aaron saw if he protests, they're going to kill him too. Okay, but maybe he should be killed. Maybe he should be killed. Kiddush Hashem, he should be killed. So the Gemara in Sanhedrin tells us he made the following calculation. We know that in the days of Bayit Rishon, the Jewish people killed a Navi who was a Kohen. And that Kohen, was it Zechariah? I think it was Zechariah. And his blood was boiling. I believe it was Zechariah. His blood was boiling. The Gemara in Masechet Gittin, the Tisha B'Av Gemarot that we learn, tells us his blood was boiling and boiling till the Churban. Meaning, there was never a kapara for the fact that they killed a Kohen who was a Navi until the Beit HaMikdash was destroyed. So Aharon knew prophetically, because that hadn't happened yet obviously, there was no Beit HaMikdash yet, that if they kill somebody who's a Navi and a Kohen, there's no kapara for that. It'll result in their destruction, total destruction, like Churban Bayit. So he said, if I protest and they kill me, it's going to be signing their death warrant. They're done. If I go along with it and they do the Aveira, at least there will be the capacity for Teshuvah. It's unbelievable cheshbon. And so the Gemara in Sanhedrin tells us he went along with it, again, hoping Moshe would show up, but at least they would have the opportunity for Teshuvah. So the Gemara tells us in Sanhedrin. So he goes along with it, they do Egel HaZahav, and that's the story here. So meanwhile, this whole event is going on down on the earth. Moshe Rabbeinu is still in Shamayim talking to HaKadosh Baruch Hu on the mountain. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu knows what's going on. And as we'll see now, he turns to Moshe and he says, you think you're going to go back and it's going to be a nice thing with the Luchot, it's not going to be a good situation. Okay? So let's continue. Vayedaber Hashem el Moshe, Hashem spoke to Moshe. Lech reid ki shichet amecha asher ha'eleta me'eretz Mitzrayim. Now look at the words here. This is what Matan was pointing out before. Lech reid, go down. The Gemara tells us, Lech reid, you have to go down. Gemara in Brachot tells us, why? Because you only received Gdula, greatness, because you're the leader of the Jewish people. But now that the Jews have sinned, you are going to be lowered. You should lose your position. Because as the leader, when your people sin, you also are lowered. Ki shichet amecha, your nation that you brought out of Mitzrayim has sinned. What do you mean, your nation and not Hashem's nation? What does that mean? So what's the answer to that, Matan? What is amecha? What is Hashem telling Moshe?
They made Moshe like...
Why is he responsible? Who was the instigators of the Egel HaZahav? It wasn't the general populace. Erev Rav. Says Rashi something unbelievable.
But Moshe Rabbeinu let them out, or HaKadosh Baruch Hu let them out?
Listen to Rashi. Shechet ha'am lo ne'emar ela amecha. It doesn't say the nation has corrupted. The nation has acted inappropriately. Your nation has acted appropriately. Erev Rav shekibalta me'atzmecha. You accepted the Erev Rav on your own. V'giyartem, and you converted them. V'lo nimlachta bi. You didn't ask my opinion. You brought in this group of Erev Rav, this group of Goyim, and you didn't consult with me, Hashem told Moshe. That's Amecha, your nation. V'amarta, and you said, Tov sheyidbeku gerim b'shchina. It's good that these gerim should connect to the Shechina. Hem shichatu v'yishchitu. They caused this great destruction. Unbelievable. So what's HaKadosh Baruch Hu telling Moshe? You didn't ask me to bring these people to Achat Kanfei Shechina. So it's your people, the Erev Rav, who caused this destruction. It does appear, by the way, from the story, that they started it. But then afterwards, the Jews also, some of them at least, joined in. The word Am, in general, that's what the Meforshim speak out, refers to Erev Rav. Amecha, Am, this terminology is Erev Rav. So Hashem says it's your fault. Go and deal with your people because they're acting corruptly. Saru maher min haderech asher tzivitim. They have strayed from the path that they've been commanded. Asu lahem egel masecha. They made this image of a calf. They bowed to it. They sacrificed to it. And they said, this is your God who brought you out of Egypt. Now Moshe realizes that the Jews are in a very dangerous state right now. Because they've just said that Moshe realizes the Jews are in a very dangerous state. Because if they sinned in such a terrible way, as we'll see later, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to threaten to even wipe them out entirely. Totally destroy the Jewish people. So immediately, as we'll see in a moment, Moshe begins to defend the Jewish people. Begins to defend them. Moshe was the greatest lawyer we've ever had. Vayomer Hashem el Moshe, Hashem says to Moshe, Ra'iti et ha'am hazeh v'hinei am k'she'orefu, this is a stubborn nation, ve'ata anicha li v'yichar'api bahem ba'achalem. Leave me alone, I will incite my anger against them and I will destroy them. So the Jews are on the brink of destruction. The Gemara Brachot tells us there was a backstory here. What happened? HaKadosh Baruch Hu said to Moshe, let me destroy these people. Let me destroy them. So Moshe says back, wait a second. You promised Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. You promised Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov that you would bring their children into Eretz Yisrael. So how could you destroy them? So he said, no problem. What I'll do is I'll wipe out the Jewish people. You will stay alive, and I'll make Bnei Yisrael from you. You're a descendant of Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. So Moshe argued back on that. He said, if with the schuyot of Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, the Jews are not saved, you create a nation from me, and then we forfeit that great schuyot. So then how could it be that we're going to be saved ultimately? Essentially, he defended them, which we'll see in a moment.
Like in that way.
That's a different story. That's Abraham.
I understand, but it sounds like a lack of emunah. He's asking how you can guarantee me if I'm not. If they're gonna...
Let's look at the defense. So comes Moshe Rabbeinu and he says, "Vayichal Moshe davens." He pleads. Et Bnei Hashem Elokav. Vayomer, he says, "Lama Hashem yecharapecha ve'amecha she'otzeita me'eretz Mitzrayim bekoach gadol v'yod chazaka." Why are you so upset at the people that you took out of Egypt with all of your strength? Lama yomru Mitzrayim. We've spoken about this a few times. What are the Egyptians going to say? That you destroyed them in the Midbar. Return from your anger and don't destroy them. Remember, Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, Avadecha, you swore to them, and you said you're going to increase their children, and you said you're going to give them the Nachala in the land. And Hashem, he changed his mind. He said, I'm not going to destroy them. So Moshe Rabbeinu just saved the Jewish people from total destruction. Okay, now this is even before he goes down from the mountain. He hasn't even seen what's going on yet. He just knew he had to say something immediately to push off the danger that was right there in front of him. Hashem says, I'm going to wipe them out. He starts to plead on behalf of the Jews, the great lawyer that Moshe was, and this is not the only time, by the way. By the Meraglim, we find a similar reality later. And he pleads on behalf of the Jews, and Hashem says, fine, I won't destroy them. He didn't see he didn't say anything yet. No, that's not here yet. That's not here yet.
No.
That's later. That's later. By the way, that means the Jews have not been forgiven. Just, I won't destroy them. That's what Hashem just said.
And everybody got killed after...
Oh, so we're going to see. A small percentage of them were killed. No, you're talking about the Meraglim.
3,000 people, right?
No, I thought nobody went to Israel.
That's from the Meraglim. Yeah. We'll see. There's a group of people that died here, but not the entire nation. Okay? So before Moshe even came down from the mountain, HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, I'm going to destroy them. And Moshe Rabbeinu says back, look, you brought them out of Mitzrayim. Don't be so upset. And he said, okay, I won't destroy them. Pretty good. He was a pretty good lawyer, this Moshe Rabbeinu.
We're talking like Hashem and this.
It's unbelievable, right? It's like me talking to you.
I can't picture this.
Unbelievable.
Don't get mad.
Obviously, there's much more to this. We're just going through the Pshuto. You're right. Yosef, you're 100% right. This is an unbelievable story. Every level of this is. We're going through Pshuto. Let's just try to get a simple storyline here.
But we can see a disgrace when in Sachar ve'onesh.
Yeah.
We could see what happened in this Rosh Hashanah and what happened a few weeks after in October 7. We could see.
עונש, הדברים שאתה עושה, הם נותנים לך את העונש. השם לא נותן עונש. השם לא נותן עונש. מהשם בא רק דברים טובים.
It's true.
הדבר הרע שאתה עושה, הוא נותן לך את העונש.
מידה כנגד מידה.
Okay, let's just go a few more psukim, Chevra, before we have to call it a day. Vayifen vayered Moshe min hahar. Moshe came down from the mountain. Ushnei luchota idut biyado. He has the 2 tablets. Stones that were written both sides. They were written Ma'aseh Elokim Hema. These were the holiest things, handiwork of Hashem. And the Mechtav was Charut, carved on the Luchot. And as they're going down, Yoshua ben Nun, who was the loyal attendant of Moshe Rabbeinu, he hears noise, because Yoshua was waiting at the foot of the mountain for his great rabbi Moshe to come down. We know Yoshua never left Lo mash mitocho lo shel Moshe. He never left Moshe Rabbeinu, which is why Yoshua ultimately becomes the next leader of the Jewish people. So Moshe comes down, he meets up with Yoshua, he hears noise. He says, what is this noise? So Moshe tells him, this is not a good thing, nothing exciting, nothing good over here is going to come from this. They came close to the camp. Moshe sees the egel, the dancing, the rejoicing. Moshe becomes upset. He throws them and he smashes them under the mountain. Then it says, like Yosef was referring to, he took the egel, he carved it up, and he punished those people who had sinned. And then there was a number of people who sinned, and it tells us they lost the crowns that they had from Har Sinai. And Levi, the tribe of Levi, joins Moshe Rabbeinu. They kill out all the sinners, and there's 3 groups of people that are punished. And then we move on and we discuss the aftermath and the punishments that exist after the fact. That is the short story in terms of the Aveira, and then we didn't get into the aftermath. That's a different story. Fine. So my question is like this, and we'll finish off with this tonight. I think there's a big lesson that comes from this we have to understand. On one hand, we say that the Aveira of the Egel, when HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, I won't wipe them out entirely, so what was he saying is that the Egel, the Aveira was so serious that what I'm going to do is that I'm going to keep the Jewish people alive. Wait a second. Is it here that we say it was spread throughout the generations, or by Meraglim? Which one is it?
The spread of the generations.
Remember that Rashi says that the Aveira was meted out throughout all of the future generations. Was that here? That was by the Meraglim? 1 second.
For the 40 years?
I don't want to say the wrong thing. 1 second.
Well, the HaKadosh wanted to wipe them out. He wanted to wipe them up indeed, in this Parshat.
I guess the Jewish was on a very, very high level. So even the Meraglim, I don't even understand why we're getting such a punishment.
You're talking about that when they cried.
Rashi tells us, I don't remember if it's here or if it's by the Meraglim.
It's not with the Mitavim.
Where does he say that the Aveira was so bad that every future punishment has an element of that punishment? Is it here or is it by the Meraglim?
It's not with the Mitavim when they cried that they couldn't have meat,
I don't think
and
it's
couldn't
there.
have relations.
No.
And then we have like every generation that we cry for that.
I don't think that's it. I don't think that's it. Yeah, no, it's here. Baruch Hashem. ותמיד כשאבגוד עליהם עוונותיהם ופקדתי עליהם מעט מן העוון הזה עם שאר העוונות. It's Rashi here. ואין פורענות בעל ישראל שאין בה קצת מפירעון עוון העגל. Unbelievable. This Aveira was so severe. On one hand, the Egel HaZahav was so severe that what HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, I'm not going to wipe them out. But what I'm going to do is, every time in future Jewish history that they receive some sort of a punishment, there's a part of that is because of Egel HaZahav. So we see how severe this Aveira must have been. So on one hand, we're saying that it's so severe, he wanted to wipe them out. He didn't wipe them out, but he made it that all future generations, when they suffer, it has an element of Egel HaZahav associated with it. On the other hand, we're talking about Jews who are on the highest level of spirituality. That they were like Adam HaRishon before the sin. How is it possible that such a great people can fall so far in such a short amount of time? And let me rephrase that question for a second the other way. If they were able to fall so far in such a short amount of time, so I understand why the punishment, if they did fall so far, so I understand why the punishment is so severe. But what lesson is the Torah teaching us here? What's the lesson that we have to learn from this? Because it's such an extreme story. From the heights to like the lowest of the lows. What is the lesson here that we're supposed to learn from this, really?
To be continued or to answer?
No, I'm going to give a short answer tonight, but we'll talk more about it the next time. What's the lesson we're supposed to learn from this? You have this people that is in such a high level. Like Adam HaRishon before the Chet. This is an incredible level of achievement, of accomplishment. And the next minute, Hashem's talking about wiping them out. And even though he doesn't wipe them out, future suffering is all going to be included based on the Egel HaZahav as well. What's the lesson there?
You say you have to have faith, like not give up. It seems like they gave up.
Be patient, have faith. Those are good lessons, I agree with that.
It's like a lack of emunah.
Let me rephrase it for a second. If they're really on such a high level, if that's really true, how do they fall so far? How is it possible they fall so far? So I'd like to suggest the following idea, just a small idea. I thought about this today, I was thinking about this a little bit. If people who are supposedly on such a high level, they engage in something that is so egregious, so severe, so terrible, what does that seem to show after the fact about the original state of being? What I mean to say is, the Israeli people understands me. What is it? What does it show, Yosef?
That the meaning it was never really that high.
It's a little bit difficult. It's difficult to say that here because the pasuk tells us they were on such a high. But then, what is the lesson? What's the lesson after the fact? Nothing comes fast. That's true. But what's the lesson after the fact then? If really they weren't, so what does it mean? That they should have to look back and say, obviously, there was something wrong beforehand. Because if we were really on such a level like that, we had such emunah, we would never have engaged in such a terrible averah. I want to give you a similar example, by the way, and I think this really brings out the point. You hear stories, lo aleinu, we should never know of such things, but you hear stories, chas v'shalom, where a husband gets upset and he starts beating up his wife. So then you look at these things, how does a husband beat up his wife? How's that possible? They were such a loving couple. So what's the answer to that? The answer is, obviously there was some issue that existed before. And then there was a trigger, whatever that trigger was, but the Aveira is not the fact that he beat her up as much as there was something underlying that they did not fix up before the blow up, before the explosion. It's terrible that he hit her afterwards. That's a horrible thing. But the husband has to step back after that. Hopefully they can figure it out. But he has to step back after that and not say, I can't believe I hit her. What does he have to say? What was broken in my brain or in our relationship beforehand that caused me to act in such a rash, aggressive, horrible type of way? So the resolution, hopefully, in such an example is, something terrible happened. It's not just that Aveira that's so terrible, it's the implication that something there was severely broken beforehand. And you didn't take the time to fix that, so that's the real Aveira. It shows you thought you might have been so tight, you thought you were so high, but really there was something broken beforehand, and that's the Aveira. What's that?
We're talking about less than 2 months process from zero to...
So Matan's adding to what I'm saying. He's saying beautiful, which is, it happened so quickly, it's difficult even to imagine that they became...
Like we say for people, do it in the right way.
So what's
Don't do it like...
What was they did wrong?
Listen, that I'm not going to... The Aveira itself, we'll have to talk about it a different time. What was the Aveira? But I'm just pointing out, from all of the Chazal is, you see it was something so severe, so terrible. So the message here, which I think is a very important message, if ever it happens in life that we do something that's so bad, so severe, it's not that Aveira itself that we need to be mitaken. That for sure needs a tikkun. We have to realize something must have been...
This is a trigger.
Something must have been so wrong with us beforehand that caused us... In this example, one day Moshe doesn't show up and they're already doing the worst of things. If they really had such emunah, if they really had, they wouldn't fall so quickly like that, even with Erev Rav. Now, I can't say that was the greatest generation, they were on such a high level, but I think the message to us is, we don't fall so quickly if there's not something wrong in the start. And I think that's a tremendous lesson. If there's ever a situation where we find ourselves struggling, we figure it out before the blow up because there's something underlying wrong. And chas v'shalom, if there is that major issue, we don't just look at the major issue that needs tikkun, that the Aveira we did in that moment. What's the underlying problem? What's the causation? Where is this coming from? We have to focus on the source. I think that is a big lesson that we should take from this, that I was thinking about today. And you can apply this in many different areas in our lives, I think.
The rabbi that Miriam said, a person that is crazy didn't become crazy from something. He was crazy. He was crazy. You know, like you said, it just triggers something, you know. The fact that but we also point on the Erev Rav. They always had this in them. They are going.
But they were Messi. They went and convinced the rest of the Jews to be involved. What I'm pointing out is that if those Jews were so, you know,
but they came from slavery after 210
years. You're saying a chidush, which I hear the chidush. You have to say such a
after 3 days, טוב מותנו במדבר, וזכרנו את הדגה, all these things that they always bring back like the hit back HaKadosh Baruch Hu after everything they saw, even though that they saw things that no one can even imagine.
I like what you said also about when you come back tshuva.
Too much, too fast.
Because this is exactly what they're doing. They're doing tshuva, and they failed, but they didn't fall. They jumped from an airplane. In Hebrew, we said tznicha chofshit.
Baruch Tiyeh. Yom Tov, everybody.